Chainsaws are used extensively by a wide range of people in many industries. The chainsaw is a great assistance when fast cutting of timber is required. But if the chainsaw is not properly maintained or is used incorrectly, its potential for causing injury cannot be underestimated. The most common parts of the body which are injured by chainsaw accidents are the hands, knees, feet and head. However, with the use of modern equipment, the correct protective clothing and the application of proper work practices, chainsaws can be used efficiently and safely. In this program, we will show you the features of a modern chainsaw, how to operate and maintain the tool correctly, and most importantly, how to use a chainsaw safely. Chainsaws can be powered by a two-stroke engine or electrical power. This program will concentrate mainly on the petrol-driven type of chainsaw, but essentially the safety and operational considerations are very much the same for both types. We will start with the obvious, the two-stroke engine which drives the chain at a rate of approximately 20 meters per second when cutting. A guide bar consisting of a track and hardened rails around which the chain travels. The rails must be even and parallel to ensure straight and accurate cutting. Guide bars fall into two basic categories. The sprocket nose guide bar, which is used on smaller and mid-size units when cutting small to medium timber, and the hard nose guide bar, which is used for cutting large timber. The saw chain, which is an endless chain that travels around the guide bar. A driving sprocket, which engages the drive links of the chain and propels the chain around the guide bar in a direction away from the engine and from top to bottom. A throttle control trigger, which activates the saw chain by automatically engaging or disengaging the centrifugal clutch. The throttle control lockout is a safety device which allows the throttle control trigger to be operated, ensuring that the chain will only rotate when held firmly and fully depressed. A choke for cold starting, which should be closed when starting and open when running. The ignition switch, conveniently placed so that it can be safely operated without removing your grip on the rear handle. The switch must be placed in the on position in preparation for starting and running the engine. Move to the stop position to stop the engine. A rope pull starter for starting the engine. Oil and fuel tank caps properly secured to avoid leakage or spillage. Chain tension screw, which allows the operator to adjust or reset the chain tension. The front hand guard, which is designed to prevent your hand slipping forward and touching the chain or timber. The chain brake is combined with the front hand guard. This device is designed to stop the movement of the chain if kickback occurs when cutting. Front and rear anti-vibration handles, which are connected to the saw by anti-vibration mounts, which isolate the handles from the engine. A chain catcher, which is mounted on the body of the chainsaw under the chain. In the event of a chain breakage or derailment, the chain catcher will reduce the length of chain being flung backwards towards the rear handguard. A rear handguard, designed to accept a gloved hand which can easily operate controls. In the event of a chain breakage, the rear handguard is designed to protect your right hand. A muffler, which contains spark arrestor screens to reduce the risk of fire. It also directs hot exhaust gases, which contain poisonous carbon monoxide, away from the operator. And finally, a bumper or bucking spike that provides a gripping area that the chainsaw is rotated around when cutting timber. There are a wide range of saw chains to choose from. However, the major factors that need to be taken into consideration are the type of work to be undertaken, the type of timber to be cut, and the chain cutter profile, which is best suited to your purpose. Cutter profiles fall into three basic groups. The chipper. This chain cuts aggressively and is easy to maintain. The semi-chisel, which provides increased cutting capacity and is easy to maintain. and the super chisel, a square-shaped chisel cutter able to sever wood fibres in a single pass, suited to heavy-duty cutting. The super chisel is difficult to maintain and is only recommended for use by experienced operators. Chains are formed from a combination of cutters and drive links, all of which are held together with riveted tie straps. Cutters are left and right hand, usually spaced equidistant and alternately along the chain. The cutters have a chrome overlay which maintains a sharp cutting edge. They are designed to work in the following way. The top plate of the cutter chisels out the severed fibres, and the side plate severs the cross-grain wood. A depth gauge rides on the bottom of the cut and controls the depth of bite and the thickness of the wood chip produced. A drive link forms the centre of the chain, the lower portion of which should fit squarely and readily into the bar guide. That portion of the link which fits into the bar guide is determined as the chain gauge. There are commonly 3 thicknesses available. The tang at the bottom of the drive link cleans and moves the lubricant along the bar groove during cutting operations. Completing the chain are tie straps, and all 3 components are held in place by rivets. The distance between any 3 rivets divided by 2 determines that chain's pitch or chain measurement. The driving sprocket should always be matched to the pitch of the chain. A chainsaw should never be operated with a damaged or dull chain. Sharpening and setting of the chain will need to be carried out on a regular basis. If sharpening the chain is carried out in the workshop, the guide bar should be firmly held in a vise. Placing the guide bar in a cut in a log will help provide a firm hold for on-site sharpening. Indications that sharpening is required occur when the chain requires excessive pressure to cut or produces dust instead of wood chips. Sharpening and depth gauge settings are usually carried out using a combination of round and flat files, a file holder, and depth gauge tool. The procedure to follow when carrying out these tasks is as follows. First, consult the chain manufacturer's maintenance manual for the filing specifications of the type of chain you are using. This information will recommend the file size diameter to be used, the required cutting angles for both the top and side plate, and finally, the depth gauge setting. The cutters should be filed first. Keeping the line on the file holder parallel to the centre of the chain, file the cutters from inside to out, applying pressure sideways only on the forward stroke. Start with the most damaged cutter. File only enough to remove all damage to the cutting edges and exposing fresh chrome. Every effort should be made to keep all cutters the same length. When an old or damaged cutter is replaced with a new cutter, it must be filed back to the length of the remaining cutters. Cutters should never be reduced to less than 4 millimeters in length. File all cutters on one side of the chain, then reverse the procedure. A note of warning. When advancing the chain by hand, wear gloves and always push the chain forward towards the bar tip to avoid cutting your hand should you slip. To set the depth gauge, first place the depth gauge tool on the cutter. If the depth gauge projects, use a flat mill file to file it level with the top of the tool. Round off the front corner to maintain the original shape. To maintain continuity of depth, always measure in the same place on the guide bar, preferably in the centre. When the chain is filed in this way on the bar, ensure that sufficient oil is applied, then rotate the chain slowly to wash away the filings before resuming cutting operations. It is vitally important that the guide bar is in good working condition and that the chain is sharp and properly tensioned. Operating a chainsaw with a damaged guide bar or a loose or badly adjusted chain can be extremely dangerous. To properly maintain the guide bar, the track and the rail should be regularly examined for wear or damage. To ensure proper inspection, the guide bar should be removed from the engine. Guide bar rails which are not even or parallel will cause uneven and inaccurate cutting. Burrs may also occur on the outer edge of the guide bar rail, and if not removed, may cause cracks and the metal may chip off during cutting operations. Burrs should be removed with a flat file. The track should be free of any obstructions and clear of all sawdust. The procedure for reassembly of the guide bar and chain is as follows. First, ensure the ignition switch is in the stop position, or that the saw is disconnected from the power supply. Check that the chain brake is in the off position. Turn the tension screw fully anti-clockwise. The tensioning peg will move towards the sprocket. Check that the oil entry hole in the guide bar is clear of debris. Fit the guide bar over the mounting studs with the tensioning peg in the guide bar hole. Fit the chain over the sprocket, ensuring the drive links are correctly engaged. Check that the chain direction is correct. Replace the sprocket cover, chain guard and guide bar nuts to finger tightness only. Having assembled the guide bar and chain, correct tensioning of the chain must now be carried out before cutting can begin. Maintaining the correct chain tension is extremely important throughout the working life of the chain. To begin tensioning the chain, lift the tip of the guide bar and turn the tensioning screw clockwise until the tie straps fit firmly against the bottom of the guide bar. Holding the guide bar up, tighten the guide bar mounting nuts firmly. Check the chain tension by checking that the tie straps are sitting against the bar with a 1 mm clearance. The chain should pull in the normal direction with finger and thumb pressure. Loosen the adjustment if you feel tight spots. On sprocket nose bars, the chain should not hang free. Start the engine and run the chain at low speed for a short time, adding a little extra oil to the chain. Stop and check the tension again, adjusting if necessary. Cutting timber can now begin. However, the chain tension should be closely monitored at all times. This is particularly important when operating with a new chain, as they have a running-in period when more frequent adjustments will be necessary. When working with chainsaws, certain safety procedures must be practiced to protect the chainsaw operator and those working in the immediate vicinity from injury. Avoid unkept hair, loose garments, belts or jewellery which could be caught in the saw. A hard hat safety helmet to the approved standard must always be worn in work areas. Wear approved eye protection, preferably in the form of a full face shield. A chainsaw is a noisy tool which requires the use of ear protection in the form of ear muffs or plugs. Make sure they are appropriate to your saw's decibel rating. The decibel rating is usually displayed on the saw body. For operator comfort, hard hat safety helmet designs are available that incorporate head, eye and ear protection in the one unit. Steel toe-capped safety boots should be worn with protection in the instep. All boots should have non-slip soles. Wear appropriate safety gloves or chainsaw mittens. Leg protection is also necessary. Safety pants or safety chaps will provide limited protection and should be worn. A first aid kit should be readily available and include large wound dressings. When operating a chainsaw, it is vital that all safety measures relating to the operation of the saw be practiced at all times. Do not use a chainsaw that is backfiring, missing or not running properly. It is dangerous and is a potential fire hazard. Never overreach when using a chainsaw or cut above shoulder height. It is generally accepted that holding a chainsaw above waist height is not appropriate. Anyone operating a chainsaw must be properly trained. Anyone operating a chainsaw from a position other than properly balanced on ground level must be further trained and equipped to handle these situations. Never stand directly behind the chainsaw. The chainsaw should be positioned to the side of your body. Do not allow other persons access to the area where cutting is being carried out. Always carry the chainsaw with the engine stopped and the guide bar and chain facing to the rear with the muffler away from your body. When carrying between workstations, make sure the chain brake is on and the ignition switch is in the stop position. If moving short distances within the same work area, and the area is not slippery or does not have heavy underbrush, it is usually acceptable to move with the chainsaw in idle speed. You should check this with the safety procedures that have been laid down within your organisation. Only operate a chainsaw in a well-ventilated area, as exhaust gases containing poisonous elements, such as carbon monoxide, can build up if a chainsaw is used in an enclosed, poorly ventilated area. Take regular rest breaks from continuous operation to avoid fatigue. Tired operators are far more prone to accidents. At the end of each work session, clean the chainsaw and place the scabbard over the guide bar to prevent damage to the chain. When transporting, make sure the chainsaw is safely and securely stored in its storage case or workbox. Always be aware of the dangers relating to the operation of a chainsaw. The combination of a regularly maintained chainsaw with the correct personal and operational safety procedures will ensure trouble-free and successful operation of the saw.